In Boston, the trial over alleged Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's actions on that day almost 2 years ago is now taking place. And in a new poll of Bostonians, the vast majority say that if he is indeed found guilty, that he should be sent to prison for life rather than being condemned to death. And given the choice, 62% of Boston voters said they would sentence Dzhokhar Tsarnaev to prison for the rest of his life without the possibility of parole. 27% said that he should be put to death, according to a new poll from WBUR, which is Boston's NPR station. And this is a slight change from previous polls, which had Bostonians opposing the death penalty for Tsarnaev by 57% favoring life in prison and 33% wanting the death penalty. These numbers surprising, Lewis? High, low?
Well, I think a lot of people understand that he probably wants to be killed and martyred. Maybe that has something to do with it. At the same time, I've always said that I think life in prison is a fate far worse than death. Maybe people are starting to realize that, or maybe they're coming around and realizing that the death penalty is archaic and not necessary.
Interestingly enough, Stephen Koczela, who's president of Mass Inc. polling group, which did the survey for WBUR, he expected support for the death penalty to have intensified because compared to the last poll, this latest poll was taken around the time when we were getting graphic testimony from witnesses and victims of the Boston Marathon bombing. And Stephen Koczela expected to see a higher percentage of Bostonians say the death penalty is the right punishment. But he says that these results clearly reflect the region's fundamental liberalism, longtime opposition to capital punishment. And he said, quote, "It seems voters stuck to their core values." New England has been on the forefront of the movement to get rid of capital punishment since the mid-1800s, even though Massachusetts itself didn't get rid of the death penalty until 1984. And it's been since 1947 since Massachusetts carried out a death penalty execution. I say make him live with what he's done. Don't give him an easy way out, and don't make him a martyr, as you said, Lewis.
Yes, I think the death penalty, although it can be very scary for those who are about to receive it, I do think that life in prison is a harsher punishment, a harsher sentence.
And this is interesting because we've talked about the death penalty before, and we've said we can understand if you're directly emotionally involved in a horrible crime like this, wanting, in spite of maybe a lifelong opposition in principle to capital punishment, saying, this one is so bad that I think that the death penalty should apply. And we said we could sympathize with that. But it seems in Boston, even the proximity to what took place at the Boston Marathon, that direct involvement, still is not making Bostonians say we should make the exception in this particular case.
And hopefully, because of this, Massachusetts will set an example for the rest of the country. Not that Texas will be listening.
Yeah, and of course, Massachusetts doesn't have the death penalty. This is a federal case, and we actually know a friend's dad was involved in a very notable case 15 or 20 years ago in Massachusetts where there was a crime at a VA hospital, Veterans Affairs Hospital. And as such, even though it was in Massachusetts, which did not have the death penalty, it was being tried federally. And he, I don't know if you remember, Lewis, got involved merely because of his opposition to the death penalty anywhere in Massachusetts.
That's right. Yeah. And he was pretty stressed out. That was a high profile case.